Guantanamo has become a major problem for America's perception, as it's seen, the way the world perceives America. And if it was up to me, I would close Guantanamo, not tomorrow, but this afternoon.
That's former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell yesterday. Today, more confusion about the legal status of Omar Khadr and other Guantanamo detainees. Last week, a military judge threw out charges against Khadr, the Canadian accused of murdering a U.S. soldier on the battlefield in Afghanistan. The Pentagon had 72 hours to appeal, which it did, we think. For the details on this and the big picture on what it means, Michael Ratner of the Center for Constitutional Rights, he joins me now from New York. Welcome to On the Map.
Good to be here.
Now, Michael, a Pentagon spokesman said on Friday that, quote, the appeals court has been established, judges have been appointed, and the court is prepared to receive appeals. Now we're hearing that they're going back to the same judges who threw out the case to reconsider their ruling, which is not exactly an appeal. What exactly is going on?
Well, they never really had an appeals court set up. There was one provided for in the regulations and the statute, but they never actually set it up. So they really had nowhere to go. So the fact that they might have at midnight put some judges together, sort of irrelevant. It just shows how slapshot this whole system is, that there's really no procedures, that they do what they want. So now they're going back before the same judges. Whether they have any chance at all, I don't know. But what's really going on is the whole structure is just falling apart. The Supreme Court said it was no good. They tried to redo it. Even their own judges now say it's no good. I mean, Khadr's case, he's been there almost 5 years. I mean, first he was a juvenile, which I'm sure your listeners know, when he was picked up. He shouldn't have been tried before one of these tribunals to begin with. No one should be tried before a made-up structure, really. And so I think the whole thing's going to collapse. I think by the end of the Bush administration, you still won't see one person tried before a military commission.
What do you make of the ruling that we've just heard come down this afternoon, that President Bush does not have the authority, according to an appeals court, to hold enemy combatants indefinitely?
It's really, I think, another major blow to this administration's extrajudicial remedies in the so-called war on terror. What will happen now, I think, will not be as easy for the administration. They can go to the Supreme Court, but they probably can't go back to Congress any longer, which is now a democratically controlled Congress, as they did after we'd won our Guantanamo decisions.
Let's go to the big picture. You know, there are fair trials held every day in the United States. The U.S. has been in wars before. The U.S. has been attacked before in various ways. Why does the U.S. government need all of these new legal mechanisms?
Well, they don't need them. I've been saying for 5 or 6 years they don't need them. The Supreme Court really said you don't need them. We have a uniform code of military justice, military system. We have a civilian court system that could very well try these cases. I don't really know why they're using them, other than to try and send some kind of message to some part of the world that if you get caught by us, we're going to try you by a kangaroo court. Because they don't need these things. Even now, recently, Colin Powell, our former Secretary of State, called for Guantanamo to be closed and for all of the detainees to be brought to the United States and tried in constitutional courts. It's what should be done, it's what the law requires, and it would put the U.S. back on the page of law.
What we're seeing as we look at renditions, as we look at Guantanamo, at the military commissions, it seems that there's sort of an extrajudicial structure being set up which is global, that allows the United States to effect a kind of justice without needing to abide by American legal structures. Do you see it that way?
I mean, that's been clear to me for a long time. I always compare it to what Pinochet did in Chile in the 70s when he picked up people all over the world in an operation called Condor, put them into secret detention facilities, and did whatever he wanted to them. I mean, think about what the U.S. is doing. They claim they can pick up anyone, anywhere in the world, take them to offshore penal colonies, leave them there forever, and if they try them with this jerry-rigged kangaroo system. So what we're talking is really an off-the-books and off-the-charts non-legal system of holding people, and it's a total embarrassment to me as an American citizen that my government, which used to stand supposedly for human rights and for fair trials, is now really standing for something very, very different.
You know, you're familiar with the argument that the wheels of justice can grind slowly. There's a sense of urgency about preempting terrorist attacks, and surely there must be some tools which could be made available that don't require the long legal process that the traditional justice system entails.
Well, I think there is a system of justice. It's either the military system or the civilian system. Certainly under the military system, you can pick up people on the battlefield and hold them till the end of a war, but you have to give them a certain kind of hearing to make sure you got the right guys. And you can't use coercion and torture. Those are minimal to me. No coercion and torture, and you have to give people an immediate hearing to determine whether you got the right guys. Without that system, you have a complete breakdown of justice. You really could arguably have a police state for those people. You have a system where you can pick up someone by the scruff of their neck, throw them into a prison, and never hear from them again. Essentially, disappear people and have no court intervention whatsoever.
We have come a long way since the beginning of the show when Ayaan Hirsi Ali described America as the best democracy in the world. We're out of time. Thanks for being on the map, Michael Ratner.
Thank you.
After the break, we get viewer reaction to last week's story on Gaza's tunnel trade and some suggestions for future treatment on the map.
CMC Markets